Alice, welcome to this call, and thank you so much for accepting to be interviewed by us and to share your coaching supervision journey.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm delighted to be here, and yeah, it should be an interesting discussion, I think.
I'm sure it will be. Alice, are you happy to start with sharing a little bit about yourself and your background as a coach, and maybe even what made you decide to train as a coach?
Oh, so I think my coaching journey was all part of a career change. So I did psychology at university, but I did it with criminology. So my first career was actually as a probation officer, which weirdly is not a million miles away from coaching. You know, you're working with people around how to change their behavior, you know, set goals, how are they going to achieve them, a lot of motivation and support and that sort of thing. But I think after I qualified and done that for a while, I realized wasn't that keen working around criminal behavior and for the civil service, I suppose, as it being a government funded organisation. So I started to look at how I could transfer that skill set and that training into a different space. And I remember looking at, you know, do I want to be a therapist? Do I want to be a counsellor? Do I want to be a coach? And I actually had coaching myself to help me figure that out. And I decided that coaching was the better way forward for a number of reasons. So that was when I decided to do my coach training, which for me that was a master's in coaching, which was accredited by the EMCC at the time. And it's just gone from there really, and that was nearly 15 years ago. So yeah, I'm amazed at where that time's gone and what my career's looked like since then. But all sort of driven by a desire to work with people and help them achieve what they're capable of, and support and encourage those people along the way, really.
It's incredible what a journey you had, right? Criminology to coaching to now supervision, and I wonder how this background in journey really impacts your supervision today.
Well, funny enough, I find in supervision that I end up using quite a lot of the models and the theories and the tools from my probation training. Those are the ones that seem to have stuck in my head, you know, the sort of theories around change and behavior modification and that sort of thing. So funnily enough, that's all come into it. But then I think with supervision, it's all just culminated in a desire to help the coach see things from so many different perspectives. I think we can get so stuck in our role as the coach and it being about us and what's going on for us that we sometimes completely forget the context of the client and everything that goes on around them. So I think it's just been quite interesting how it all comes together and how it all translates, because at the end of the day, you know, we're working with people and therefore it's all relevant, really.
It's amazing how in supervision we wear so many hats, and how sometimes we're the mentor, we're the supervisor, we're the coach, we're the right. And you mentioned how you're wearing different hats from your previous career. It's really fascinating, and it can be more complex, this supervisory role, than it might seem. And sometimes I remember our conversations during training was about what roles we have when, and how do we incorporate all of this in in our supervision work.
Yeah, I think there are many roles that we wear as supervisors, and I think supervision performs so many different functions. And I guess that's when it becomes about the fit between the supervisor and the coach, and the sort of coaching that they're doing, the kind of coach that they are, and how that all gels together, I suppose.
Yes, yes. What inspired you, Alice, to become a supervisor, to want to train as a supervisor?
So I remember, so with my coaching practice, I did some sort of top-up training around career coaching back in 2017. And then I think that got embedded, and then I was looking for another challenge. And I think supervision just felt like an opportunity to get to that next step in terms of professional development. It might sound a bit of a strange thing to do, but it's almost like a promotion, but because you're self-employed, you kind of have to do it yourself. So that's almost how I saw it. And it, for me, because of what I do in my coaching, i.e., it's a very structured program. I'm doing the same program with every client. It can get a bit samey. So I was looking for a way to mix up my practice. And so I felt that supervision just gave it something a little bit different. And I suppose because I'd done it for so long, not to sort of blow me on trumpet, but I felt like I'd probably have quite a lot of experience and knowledge to bring to that supervision space. So I think that was what was coming together at the time for me, which was, why I started to look into it.
Hmm. And as you embarked on this journey to become a supervisor, what did you find the most challenging or the most interesting in this process?
But to be honest, what struck me whilst doing the training was how much I'd forgotten from my original training. So I actually really welcomed the opportunity to refresh my memory and my knowledge of all of those sort of fundamental coaching theories and models, because you study a lot of that, but through a supervision lens, obviously, as part of the training. And I suppose that was a challenge in itself, just having to get, different parts of the brain going again, perhaps. And then I think what else was interesting was just being able to look at all of that from a different lens. As I said, when you study all of that originally, it's in the coaching context and it's about you and the client. But it was quite interesting just thinking through, okay, well, what does that mean for the supervisor and the coach and the context as a whole? I do remember finding the assignments quite challenging, but more just from a practical time management point of view, getting them done, getting them in. But I think I just got on with that, really. I wanted to finish the course. I wanted to have that qualification, get going with the supervision. So I suppose, just having the discipline and the self-motivation just to jump through those hoops and be able to move on from it. But it was really nice being able to meet a whole heap of other coaches as well, and hearing their different experiences, and great to be able to debate and discuss all of the coaching theory and the supervision theory that was discussed. So I really enjoyed the sort of collaboration and the meet. I don't know, what do you call them? Meetings,
Sessions, the training.
sessions. Yeah, the training sessions. Yeah, and the reflectors practice groups as well, and being able to practice your supervision skills in a safe environment and get feedback from observations and seeing how other people were doing it, having absorbed the same training material. Yeah, that was all quite interesting experience.
What you're sharing reminds me of when I trained. Um, uh, we the contracting was a key element. I remember one of the sessions where, like, I had 10 years of coaching experience when I trained as a supervisor. There were other participants in my group who had 20, 25 years of coaching experience. And still, what you said about going back to the basics, how useful it was. Contracting was such a in this particular session was such a hot topic, how we all benefited about going through it again and recontracting. Just that reminder of you to recontract in the session, in the relationship. And it's never yes, it's never too much to go through. There's always a right time, right? When you go through those basics and you share as a group, we learned so much. I always say that I learn as much from the training as from the group. I learn
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
first.
Yeah, especially with all the resources that are shared and various books and people I'd never heard of and all that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of wisdom and knowledge in the room to be shared, definitely. Yeah.
Can be such a rich space. I remember joining because I wanted to help other coaches, but actually I didn't realize how much this course is going to help me in my
Mhm.
development as a coach. The reason why you said you joined, right? To help your development. And I wonder what was the impact of the supervision training and the knowledge you gained and experience on your coaching practice.
Well, I think some of it's tied to what you were saying. For example, yeah, I remember that about the contracting point as well. And I think although you're looking at that in relation to a supervision space, you do come away and think, okay, well, that applies to coaching too. So I think it actually, for me anyway, it improved my coaching a little bit in the way I approached it and um yeah, helped me sort of refresh a few skills and that sort of thing. So I think that was the main impact. But I think there was an element of sort of self-supervision that goes on as well, because you're going on that journey and you're thinking about supervision and seeing it through, you know, talk about the seven-eyed model and that sort of thing. You start doing that yourself a bit more. So I think it helped my sort of self-awareness in the sessions and outside of them to do a bit of that internal supervisor piece myself. So I think those were probably the main things, the main impact on the coaching.
I wonder, Alice, who do you work with as a supervisor?
Who do I work with? So I work with quite a few career coaches because that's the space that I work in myself.
Mhm.
So I have found that a lot of the people that are attracted to me as a supervisor, it's because of that, and they feel that there would be some, helpful knowledge exchange there. Um, a lot of them tend to be fairly early on in their coaching journey. I haven't quite figured out why that is, but it is. I don't know whether maybe more people, coaches are more up on getting supervision when they're early on in their journey. I haven't come across too many coaches that, yeah, as we were saying, who are kind of 10 years plus
Mhm.
looking for supervision, but I'm sure they are, maybe just elsewhere. Um, Yeah, all around the country. Yeah, the common theme tends to be that they do a fair bit of career coaching. That's probably the key thing.
And what type of challenges do they usually bring to supervision in your session?
Yeah. I've actually been really fascinated by how these kind of key themes, they just shine through in so much of supervision. So I think it can be reassuring just to know that, as a coach, we all seem to struggle with the same things, perhaps. Um, the main themes seem to be around responsibility, coaches taking far too much responsibility for the results of the coaching. And interestingly, how they interpret that responsibility. So a lot of coaches seem to attach their uh, effectiveness of being a coach to the results that the client gets from the coaching, and it being attached to almost their whole worth, their whole value. It's quite interesting how sometimes these core beliefs come up when you really dig down to, okay, well, what is it about the client not achieving their goal that you're finding challenging? So say that's the key one. Yeah, very loads of conversations about contracting. Yeah, it's just such a key part of coaching, and the recontracting as well. Just giving yourself permission to keep coming back to, yeah, that contracting and what you said you'd set out to do and how and all those sorts of things. And I'd say a third theme is something around assertiveness as a coach, and having the courage to challenge the client. I think some coaches, there's a real fear of what they perceive as confrontation almost, and changing that perception into whether coaching is actually there to challenge the client, and how you do that in a supportive, empowering way. I think there's a lot of fears that go on around, the client's going to ask for a refund, they're going to throw a strop, or the relationship's going to break down, that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, that seems to be one that comes up time and time again. And then the fourth one, just the experience of being a coach, that real restorative function of supervision. I think from the outside, coaching looks easy, but actually the experience of being a coach, especially if you're working with career changes, it's tough, it's sticky, it's challenging. The client is really stuck. And the toll that can take on the coach. So really just that space to process all those thoughts and feelings that comes up with coaching people all day, every day.
Mm.
Yeah, those are the biggies, I think.
Mm. You've put it so nicely. I mean, it's so relevant from my experience that I'm having currently with a lot of conversations around coaching. That
Yeah.
you're right. I do think that a lot of people, or from the outside, coaching looks easy, but actually is not for the coach, not for the client, especially for the coach, in terms of what you said, how we as coaches live this experience. We're bringing so much of ourselves in this relationship, in the coaching relationship, that having this space of supervision to explore those in a safe way with somebody that we don't feel that they are judging us for doing something or not doing something in this relationship, or not doing it as well as we would like it to do this, to do this skill. I think it's such a special space, that it's not always easy to manage, or it requires skill to manage as a supervisor that space and be that partner, thinking partner, reflective partner. And I wonder, how did the supervision skills that you learned help you in, or equip you in this relationship, supervisory relationship that you have with your clients?
I think the key one really was the introduction of the seven-eyed model for me in a supervision context. I always just have that at the forefront of my mind in supervision. So I think that's been the key one, where you're looking at whatever's being brought from a, variety of different perspectives. And what that seems to do is get the coach out of just their seat, if you like, and step into all those other positions, just to free up their thinking as to what might be going on and how else to approach it. Um, and purely the refresher actually around some of the models and the theory and the psychology and the games people play. Again, although that was about how that might show up in supervision, as a supervisor, that's actually really helpful to share with the coach. Again, just to help them think, oh, okay, maybe this is what's going on,
Mm.
and that kind of thing. So I'd say that was the key things there.
Mm. What do you like most about coaching supervision?
I really I really value being able to support coaches in the way that we've touched on, really. Um, I really value my own supervision for that reason. I work from home on my own via a laptop. It's a fairly isolating experience. I'm not that connected to the coaching community, so I find that supervision is about processing all of that and just making sure that I'm not carrying it by myself. So I really value the opportunity to do that for other people, I suppose, and I really value the feedback when it's along those lines. Um, I'm really quite nosy, so I love hearing what's going on with other coaches and their clients. Um, in a way, I find that a little bit reassuring for me as a coach too, because I think, oh, that's really interesting. I've experienced that, and I thought maybe I was weird or on my own on that. So it's quite reassuring actually when you hear a whole heap of other coaches struggling with the same challenges. Um, and then there's a sort of weird bit of me that enjoys being part of what supervision provides the industry. Um, so I'm always conscious that it's an unregulated industry and that anyone can turn around and say, I'm a coach. Um, so I actually quite enjoy and value being part of what supervision, I would hope, does for the profession. I would hope it gives a bit of credibility. It means that those coaches are dedicated to their craft and the service that they're offering, and that they take what they do seriously. Um, I think there's a sort of part of me that enjoys, yeah, I don't know if I've explained that very well, but hopefully you know what I mean. Yeah, being part of the sort of regulatory or the sort of credibility that supervision perhaps provides the coaching industry. Yeah, I'd say those are the main things.
It really comes across, Alice, how you're taking responsibility for what you're doing as a supervisor, both for the client, the coach, and the industry itself, and the impact that you're having in this industry and on the coaching and the standards and the quality of the coaching that's being delivered. And Alice, in terms of if you were to have a message for somebody who's considering to train as a supervisor, what would you share?
Just to do it, really. You know, if you're on the fence, then yeah, why not? I can't see many downsides, really. I mean, yes, it costs, but as with any decision like that, it's an investment. But the impact that it will have on your own professional development and your personal development, to be honest, and what it will open up for you, and the impact it will have on your coaching, but also, you know, who you are as a supervisor and how you approach that. Yeah, just go for it. It's a win-win, really. Yeah.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and being here with us. Are there any final closing things you would like to share?
No, I don't think so. It's actually been quite interesting talking it all through. I feel a bit more reinvigorated about my role as a supervisor. So it's been quite nice to reflect on the journey and what it means and why I did it to start with and where it is today. So thank you. Thanks for the discussion.
It was a pleasure having you, Alice. Thank you for sharing your journey.
You're welcome. Bye.